How does procedural programming language is different from object-oriented programming language or programming? So the procedural programming, functional programming, or the structured programming, how it is differing from the OOPS? The first thing is that these are the concepts on which the object-oriented programming is based. These are the different, you can say, the basic building block. The procedural or functional programming is all about functions. So we have a main program and it calls different functions, and those functions in turn call different more functions. So it is all about functions. So procedural oriented programming is all about function. It is based on functions. While the object oriented programming, we are talking about real world entity representation, and that can be done using the objects. Okay, because object is coming from where? The blueprint class, and class is representing the real world scenario. So everything is object. In procedural oriented programming, it follows a top-down approach. That means you'll start with main program, then the functions will be called, and then the functions will be called. The object-oriented programming, it follows the bottom-up approach. First, we make the classes, we bind these data variables or data items with the functions, and then we combine the classes, or then we collaborate the classes, and that is how it forms a bottom-up approach. This is a bottom-up approach. Procedural language, the data is not secure. Even it is by itself not secure, because data cannot be hidden. See, in C program, the data can be written when you start from main. So here you write the data. It can be local data, and one more thing you can do is make the global data. So there is no secrecy, there is no privacy, there is no access specifier or modifier for that. But since in object-oriented programming we are saying int A, so we can give private, public, protected. That is, the object-oriented programming languages, they provide more security. That is, the data, the whole thing is around data only. So here the procedural oriented, data is visible to the whole program. As I said, you just have to declare, even in C you have to declare it above any instruction where it is using. So data is visible to the whole program, whole functions. But object-oriented programming, the data is encapsulated inside a class. There is a proper capsule which is called as a class, and it contains the data members and the functions which are operating. So this is, I'm making a capsule here. In procedural, the reuse is not that much possible, though you can say the function can be reused, but in totality you have to write more codes rather than what you are doing in object oriented, because here you are making a class, then you make another class, and if you want to use the class A content, the first class content, what do? You just inherit that class. So that is, the inheritance is providing you the reusability. This is how the code can be reused. You don't, the kiloline of codes or the instructions, number of delivered instructions, they are less as compared to the procedural. In procedural, the modification and extension of code is not that easy, because you have to go to different functions, see where the function is being called, and then you do the modification. In object oriented, because you have different class and everything is bound, you know very clear cut structure. Now you can easily modify and extend the code. If you want to extend code, if you have 10 classes, you know which class you are going to go. You can extend the code there. In procedural, the examples are the C, Visual Basic, the Formula Translation or Fortran, the Pascal. In object-oriented, we have C++, Java, C#, and then we have the PHP and Python. They are also object-oriented. PHP is for web, for server-side programming.